The draft picks explained and a Tank Dell update. Let's hear from Texans GM Nick Caserio and react to it in another live edition of The Locker Room.
Yeah, it's The Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really
All right,
do.
Nick,
We the source.
explain the picks, please. It is The Locker Room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 Central, Sports Radio 610, and on the Odyssey app. Nick Caserio, he was on Payne and Pendergast on Sports Radio 610. He explained the draft picks. Let's jump into what Nick had to say. We'll also get an update on Tank Dell. And let's start with perhaps the most controversial pick of all. You drafted a tackle. You got two of the highest paid tackles in the league, pretty much in club control for the next couple of years. And you went with the tackle, Fisher out of Notre Dame. What exactly went into that? What was the line of thinking? Let's hear Nick Caserio explain himself on that. And I'll be honest, I'm starting to kind of warm up to the tackle pick. I actually like it a lot more than I initially did, especially if it is a chess move. And given the fact that there was the tackle run after, I think it could look like a brilliant move 2 years from now. And who knows, maybe sooner rather than later, we see him on the field. But here is Nick Caserio on drafting a tackle, Mr. Fisher, in the second round.
When you look at kind of the middle of the second round to the bottom, then there was a little bit of a run on tackles, and we had gone into the draft, and I think we were hopeful that we were going to add a tackle to the group, a young tackle that we could add to the system, get into the program, provide us some depth behind Titus and LT, understanding that at some point, whoever that third tackle is or next tackle is, he may have to play a significant amount of snaps. So I would say that was a little bit of the rationale with the Fisher pick.
All right, so that was the rationale. Now, what's his role going to be this year, though? Can you elaborate on perhaps what the role will be? He kind of made it seem like it was maybe perhaps an adjustment. Maybe they like something else. But what's the role going to be, Nick?
We'll see. Once we start practicing, once we start playing, you really never know how the snaps are going to be distributed. So you have to go under the assumption, if you have all your players healthy, what is it going to look like? But I would say our experience over the past 2 to 3 years has been you're probably not going to have everybody healthy. Right. So we'll see how it goes. I think our philosophy, and D'Amico and I talk about this regularly, whoever we have on the team, regardless of how they arrived here, where they were drafted, whether we sign them in free agency or not, we feel comfortable and confident with that player. And if he has to go on the field and play in a significant role, then that's why they're here. So let's say if we were lining up today, I mean, there's a good chance that Blake probably would be not playing, if assuming we put the first offensive line group out there. But at some point, Blake's probably going to have to play, which I was saying, when you look around the league and just look at a number of teams, there's a number of players that they might not play right away. They may play right away. They might not play this year. They may play next year. So we'll just kind of take it one day at a time and kind of let the competition sort itself out.
Let's keep an eye on that. Every once in a while, when camp comes around, there's like a surprising guy that ends up on PUP, and next thing you know, he's not ready to start the season. Maybe Titus Howard could be that guy. He's doing good according to most accounts, but kind of laid out. Conklin got hurt around the same time with the Browns, and he missed the first 2 weeks of the season. So maybe there's a chance that Fisher plays early. Maybe there's a chance he plays great, and he's better than we expected early on. I'm intrigued, and I'll get into this next week. I'm going to drop a top 10 questions video, top 10 questions about the rookies. I'm actually kind of intrigued to see where they play him in camp. Is he going to be the backup left tackle? Is he going to be the backup right tackle? I anticipate that he plays both, but where do they see him? How does he look on each one? I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on, Fisher. Moving on to the first pick that Nick Caserio made, Kamari Lassiter, in the controversial 40. Here's Nick Caserio answering the concern about the 40 time, which, by the way, was at the pro day. wasn't even at the combine. Here's Nick Caserio speaking on 40 time.
The way we've always viewed, I would say 40 times, it's a data point. So it's a measure of a particular, it's some kind of measurement that you have. Fast guys are fast, they run fast. There have been plenty of times where you're evaluating a player and you say, boy, this guy's really fast. And then maybe he runs a time that's less than what you think it is. So it goes both ways. So I would say specific to Kamari, it was a player that when you watch him play, no one that evaluated him said he's slow. So did he run a bad time? Well, the time's the time. Like nobody can change that. So nobody's going to make an excuse. I'm not certainly going to make an excuse for him. So the time's the time, but it doesn't mean that you can't play football. So our job is to evaluate the football player, take the information in, make an assessment about what we think it is. We feel comfortable with Kamari, the football player, which is why we drafted him, which is why he's a Houston Texan.
All right, there you go. So it's a data point. It's a small thing. It's not an end-all, be-all. My thing is this. We know that they like Fisher more than the other tackles because they drafted him before the run started. How much do they like Lassiter? Who knows? Is Lassiter going to end up being a nickel? I think a lot of times when we talk about draft picks, oh man, this guy's got to be your number 2 corner. He's got to do this. If he's a really, really good nickel, then, I mean, you can do a lot worse in the second round. I do anticipate that if there is a speed issue, it's a lot easier to mask at Georgia than it is in the NFL. And it's not going to be able to be masked for too long because this Texans receiving core that you practice against, and this is one of the luxuries of being able to be at every practice at training camp. We actually broadcast on the field and get close looks at these drills and everything. Is he's going to be going against Nico, Tank, Stephon Diggs. So if it is an issue, we're going to get an early look at it. So that'll be something to look at. The man that Nick Caserio has praised the most, at least after the draft, Cade Stover, been playing tight end for 2 years. This was absolutely a position of need. They need someone who can contribute pretty early at this position at tight end, especially if he can block. But the way in which Nick Caserio explained this pick to Payne and Pendergast on Sports Radio 610, be sure to subscribe, like as well if you are in the building. Made him sound a lot more like a developmental pick. And maybe he's trying to channel the expectations and the giddiness that he showed after he drafted him. But listen to this and tell me if this sounds like a guy that they think is going to be able to contribute sooner rather than later.
So there was a little bit of jockeying that took place relative to that pick, but it was a player that I think we had a consensus on, both from a scouting standpoint and from a coaching staff standpoint, and understanding that there's some developmental aspects with this player. He's only played the position for 2 years, but his toughness, his mindset, his mentality, I would say fits our program very well, which is one of the reasons why, we were happy to be able to add him to the team.
Okay, that sounds a little developmental, a little more so than what we heard before. What about Bullock? Let's hear Caserio talking about Kalen Bullock. Kalen Bullock, there was a lot of excitement in the room when Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans made this pick. Kalen Bullock, he possesses something that no safety on this squad possesses, and that's elite see-ball, get ball instincts and skill set. Let's hear what Nick Caserio had to say about the Bullock pick.
Kalen's a great kid. He's young. He's 20. I think he's 20 years old or just recently turned 21, but he's a young kid, but I would say he's pretty mature for his age. Really unique kid, really great kid. And it was a player that we felt had some intriguing qualities and traits physically, different but similar to Stover, that there's certainly a developmental aspect with him. He certainly needs to get stronger. He'll be the first to admit that, but athletic, moves well for his size. I mean, 6'2", 195, real smooth, plays the ball really well. So is a player that we feel if we were able to get in the program that had a shot to develop and hopefully become a pretty good player.
Sarah's asking about Brandon Hill. I don't know. Caserio brought him up the other day, but I think it was more kind of a flex. He basically said that was the only guy that last year didn't contribute immediately. He made it seem like he likes the progress that he's had. he's definitely going to have some competition. They've brought in Lonnie Johnson. It's going to be really hard, like on the back end at safety, to make this squad. Maybe he hangs around practice squad or something. Maybe he surprises. But on the back end at safety, with everything that they've done, I think it's going to be an uphill battle. Although Caserio did mention him unsolicited, I looked at it more as a flex, but he did get brought up by the general manager. So there is that. Then there's Jawar Jordan, the running back out of Louisville. Y'all know how I feel about the running back position. I don't think that they have multiple backs that can make plays in games. I think most teams do. Most good teams do. Even a lot of teams that have running backs, they use more prime assets to acquire them. They can tell us they like Dameon Pierce. We saw what it looked like last year. And unless there's like some miraculous turnaround, I'm not buying what they're selling when it comes to Dameon Pierce. I'll love it. I'm not rooting against it, but I'm not buying what they're selling when they say they love Dameon Pierce. We're talking about not playable last year. And he's been open about how hard it was for him and all that type of stuff. I'm not going to sit here and pretend or minimize how hard the running back position is. It just kind of feels like in this system, you've seen guys that have just come in off of the street and been able to compete, whether it's with McVay, whether it's with Shanahan and guys who were in other systems, different systems. We see it. So he insists that they feel good about Dameon Pierce. Okay. He insists that running back is important here. Okay. Here's Caserio explaining the running back situation, the outlook, and the selection of Jordan.
Yeah, no, they're valuable. I mean, there was a number of good football players that we had identified in this draft. We feel good about that position. We feel like we have two good backs on a roster with Mixon and DP, and the opportunity to add Jordan to the roster as well was something that, we found intriguing. He has a little bit different dynamic relative to his skill set. When you watch Louisville play this past year, they had two backs. So Jordan was actually the starter, and then he played early in the year, and then he got hurt. I think he had a little bit of a knee issue that he sort of was dealing with, and then Garendo played a little bit more. Jordan ended up being their leading rusher. I think he ran for, 1,100 yards or whatever it was. We're happy that we were able to draft Jordan and get him on a team. There were some other players that we liked as well. So in our opinion, that position, there's no such thing as it's devalued.
Okay, well, I mean, your actions kind of speak differently. By the way, the other one that he was speaking of, Garendo, 49ers traded up for. So think of that what you will. I would love to see them prove me wrong at this running back position. I also do think that, in fairness, it could be something where maybe you're willing to be more aggressive once your roster is more complete. I just don't. I like to say that it's valued here. I think is a little bit of a stretch. Blue Boy 5'9" says nobody brings up the O-line when it comes to Pierce. We were ranked 30th in rushing. That's an O-line issue. I'm assuming he'll bounce back. Why did Singletary look so much better then? What do you mean? Like, the O-line is obvious, but why did Singletary look so much better than Dameon Pierce? That would be my question. I mean, obviously the O-line needs to block better. O-line can make the running back better. The O-line wasn't that good the year before. He rushed for 900 yards. So I look at that as kind of an excuse. Singletary was clearly better, and the running back can make the line better. And Dameon Pierce himself said that it was a system thing, and it was a lot more difficult for him. So I think you're kind of just giving him a bailout there that he doesn't even believe. Bullrush 79 says they sign one after training camp if it becomes apparent that we have lost is grossly inadequate. Caserio is no fool and can turn water into wine. Okay, I like the faith. The opportunity to add running backs, and I like Joe Mixon. I just don't think Joe Mixon should be the only back that you trust. And bringing back the two down of the depth chart behind Mixon is essentially bringing once again one running back that you can truly trust. Maybe they can find one. We will see. Because Singletary was a vet, okay. The hell does that mean? He was a vet. so he knew how to run the ball. Like only vets run the ball. Just we're just making excuses for him. On that, DP was on his second season in a new system. Okay. All right, then that's it. It was that hard. Unplayable is what we're saying. But I hope you're right. I believe Pierce was battling injury too, but chose to play. That's a lie. I mean, that's not true. All right, we're putting you in timeout for making stuff up. Blue Boy, appreciate you though. You're always loyal. I just got to put the nose in the corner there. If you're just making stuff up. Didn't Singletary come out of a system that was similar to ours? He was in Buffalo, whatever the hell Buffalo was running with Dorsey, and before that he was with Dable. And Dable's in New York. And obviously Dable's like Singletary, so brought him back. So perhaps that could be the case. Let's get an update on he was playing through injury. Like where does that even come from? Like people, we talked to him on the reg, like he decided to play from injury and it's the O-line. Like what is going on? That Dameon Pierce wouldn't even want you lying for him like that. But let's hear from Nick Caserio on Tank Dell. A little update on Tank Dell. And this was perhaps the best thing to come from his visit on PNP on 610. Here was Nick Caserio with a nice, great, actually, Tank Dell update.
Tank's doing great. We've had conversations with him. We have visited with him. D'Amico's had a chance to talk to me the other day. So he's doing okay. Certainly making progress. I think he's going to be okay from a health standpoint. So as far as some of the substance and the nature of those conversations, we'll kind of keep that to ourselves. But Tank's in good spirits. He's doing well. So it's kind of working through the process. So he's been in and out of the building, which is good. So, right now he's in a pretty good state of mind.
All right, there you go. So that's good. So he's been in and out of the building. I don't know where he got shot. I don't know how bad it is. Seems like he's going to be ready for camp. And he's already in and out of the facility. That was a hell of a good update from Caserio. More comments. What's up, Mr. Beasy? I feel like our wide receivers in Stroud in his second season, it should make playing running back easier in this system this year against defenses. Yeah, that would be great. If the wide receivers can make Pierce better, the offensive line naturally is going to get healthy. I'm not saying the offensive line isn't going to get better. That would be awesome. I'm rooting for Dameon Pierce. I'm just not going to make that bet. I'm not going to bet on it. I'm going to bet that if it doesn't work, it's not going to be for a lack of effort. I can promise you that. But my thing is this. I don't think the Texans came out of this draft getting one of the top 4 or 5 running backs of their choice. I think they ended up, the way the draft fell, they ended up having to address other things. But I don't think like they attacked this draft and made that happen. I think they wanted to add to the position, and they were in on Saquon. And Mixon was a great backup with Saquon, and he's probably an upgrade over Singletary. Not probably, he's definitely an upgrade over Singletary. It's just you've got to have multiple backs that can make plays. If that's Dameon Pierce, great. But I don't think you can dismiss. We're not sitting here talking about a dip in production. We're talking about unplayable for sure. No doubt. People are saying that Tank's got to come out with mini men. Nah, he ain't got to do that. I think we got coming from a former running back in high school, Pierce need to work on foot. What are we doing? Is this Uncle Rico or something like that? What are we doing here? Is this Touchdown Bundy? He is more of a power back, the former high school running back thing. That's funny. I'm not sure how bad of a wound it is. He will be fine. This is a learning lesson for all of us. Don't hang around the wrong crowd. See, I'm hearing people say this, and I don't. Are we sure about that? Like, do you know who he was with? Do you know who his friends were? Like, obviously, probably different situations. Maybe you know something I don't. I've never heard anything bad about Tank Dell. I didn't hear any character issues. He was a local guy here at Houston. Never heard anything bad about him. So if you know something, congrats. I don't know that he was with the wrong crowd. Maybe it was maybe I don't even know if it's the wrong situation. I don't know anything. I've heard it was a nightclub. I've heard it wasn't a nightclub. So if you feel comfortable in saying that, fine. Everybody wants to like jump the gun on it. I don't feel comfortable enough in saying that Tank needs to hang with a different crowd. JP, I'm not giving this as an excuse of Singletary's performance, but we did have 14 different O-line. Yeah, and look, I'm not sitting here saying the O-line is not going to get better. That's absolutely correct. My thing is it was just significantly better with Singletary than it was Pierce. So don't get me wrong on that. I feel that. Everyone's upset about running back. Can't believe they waited until 205. Yeah, and they traded. They didn't trade up, all that type of stuff. Marcus Johnson, DP, averaged 2 yards per carry last season, had 2 touchdowns. One was a kick return. What has he done lately to warrant such blind faith? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if because I don't think that they truly believe and feel 100% comfortable that they have, and this might be a drinking game, but multiple backs that can make plays in games. That might be the drinking game of this video. I don't believe that. I feel like they have to at least say that at this point. And I think they like Dameon Pierce. They like his work ethic, and they like what he brings to the table. Like, you don't cut him. Like, even if you brought in another running back, he could find his way on the squad. Like, it's not that serious. But to blind faith, I don't even think he thinks, and I've talked to him multiple times. Like, I don't even think that he agrees with these excuses that are being made for him. He's easy to root for. But yeah, let it rain coming from a middle school running back. I second that. That is funny. Do you think Jawar Jordan can make plays this season for the Texans? I don't know. I wouldn't bet on it. I know there's always like the exceptions, and around here it's the Arian Foster thing. If you're hanging your hat on Arian Foster, then chances are you've been wrong a number of times with some of the running backs that they've brought in. Because it seems like any time they bring in an undrafted running back or they draft a running back late, what was that dude's name from Michigan a few years ago? There's always like the talk about, oh, look, Arian Foster was undrafted. You might as well try to pay your monthly bills by going and getting a scratch off at a gas station if you're going to hang your hat on Arian Foster whenever they have get these late round running backs. It can happen every once in a while. But I am intrigued to see what he looks like on kick return. I think he's going to have an opportunity there. Didn't do it last year. In the last couple of years, he's gotten more carries. I think he had 800 and then over 1,000 last year. But I think if you're talking about like make meaningful plays, perhaps he's going to have a hell of a chance to shine in preseason. Nobody plays in that Hall of Fame game. Hell, he might get 20 carries in that. That's a hell of an opportunity for him. That's going to be the first football game of the year. Might start a damn movement with what he does in that Hall of Fame game, because he's going to get a hell of a lot of chances there. But as far as like when the real games start, I would say kickoff return would be where it needs to start. KC asks, will Mechie take a leap? It's interesting you asked that. I'm going to give you the credit for the alley. I'm going to oop it in, and we'll hear from Nick Caserio on John Mechie.
John's worked very hard. So I think he kind of overcame that first obstacle last year when he was actually able to, I would say, play meaningful snaps and go out there and make some contributions, made some key catches in some football games. So he's carried that, I would say, approach and attitude over into the offseason. So, we've been on the field here with the players for the past couple of days with the coaches. And then prior to that, we've had, we had phase 1. So John's worked hard. He's in good condition. I think he's built up his strength. So I think he's at a point where, knock on wood, he's probably as healthy as he's been. So now it's working on your individual fundamentals and techniques as it pertains to the position and trying to continually improve those. So John's here working. He's got a great attitude. I mean, everybody knows John's a great kid, and hopefully he's in a position where he can build on some of the things that he did that he did last year. But John's certainly making progress in that respect.
Yeah, and he's got the respect of his teammates. He's got the respect of the organization. He's got people rooting for him. And he's kind of said, the couple times that I've spoken to him, it's always going to be a part of me, but it's time for me to be judged as a football player. I would have liked to have seen them add another wide receiver, not necessarily for this year, but for next year, because you have all these guys that are on the final year of their deal. Whether it was A.D. Mitchell at 42, I just feel like that would have been somewhat of a steal. That's a guy that can just go up and get it. I think he might end up being a problem with the Colts, or whether it was, and I'm staying local, but on day 3, whether it was Aniyah Smith out of Texas A&M with the injury, but the high upside kicked the tires on him, or Jordan Whittington in the 6th or 7th. And the problem with Whittington that made that even worse was, man, when the Rams have Puka and Cooper Kupp and they take you, man, that's almost like when San Francisco trades up for a running back or something like that, or Baltimore makes a pick. Like you sit there and say, dude, they know something. So I would have liked to have seen that, but will Mechie take a leap? I don't know. Like, what is a leap? Like serviceable number 5, like serviceable number 4. This is depending on what happens with Woods. And I almost wonder if, some people think, why isn't Robert Woods cut yet? I almost wonder if they're trying to see if they feel comfortable enough with Mechie to make that decision. Because I've seen on the internet some people say, well, it's a leap of faith in John Mechie to not draft a receiver. It might just be the way the draft went. Like, is it possible that there were certain receivers, like you heard the way CJ reacted when San Francisco made the pick that they made? We don't know how they felt about McConkey. We don't know how they felt about some of the other guys. Like, maybe it's just the way it went. But if they cut Robert Woods, I think that's more of the faith in Mechie. So I would keep a close eye on that, but I think that it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Primetime says Kenyon Green should get all the snaps in the Hall of Fame game. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a chance for him too. The Hall of Fame game, I'm telling you, man, like if you're trying to make this squad with the extra preseason game and the fact that the Hall of Fame game is so early, like you're going to get a lot of chances, especially like if you're a running back, if you're a O lineman, if you're a D lineman, like you're gonna get a lot of chance to shine. And I can promise you, after that Hall of Fame game, there's going to be like some serious overreaction. Whether it's one of the undrafted receivers, whoever makes the big play, they're going to become like the camp hero. We always have like the camp heroes. There's going to be a lot of opportunity during that game, very much so. I'm pumped to see how these guys play when the pads get on. Going to be fun to watch. You and me both, my friend. Woods is still on the team. Yes, sir, he is. I'm not sure how Woods gets cut now. I'm kind of with you. And especially if Woods and Noah Brown are your 4 and 5, I actually kind of like that. Especially with the way that this roster's, I mean, you're pushing them back to where you're not dependent on them. I think that's nice. I mean, if you're just bringing those guys in and when they're called upon, we've seen Noah Brown produce at an elite level. And hell, CJ trusted Woods in some very key moments last year. I'm fine keeping Woods around at this point. Very, very much so. I'm good with that. Stover will steal Schultz's job by the end of the year. I doubt that very strongly. They might play 2 tight ends. I'm people make fun of me because I like Teagan Quinturiano. Man, can that dude stay healthy just one time? It just seems like he can play. I just want to see that. Do you think Davis Mills wants out of Houston? Why? Like, what's he want to do? Where's he going to start somewhere or something? The O-line room is going to be a cage match in practice. Yeah, there's a lot of competition. You really just you eliminate the tackles, and then you factor in that you want to see what Fisher looks like behind those two, and then you just look at the inside. You assume that Shaq's going to be on the right, which, I mean, by assume, I say that's what's going to happen. And then, I mean, you just roll dice and figure out, like, who the hell is going to start at center, who's going to start at guard, how does it all work out? It'll be interesting. But I do like the idea of Kenyon Green playing the whole Hall of Fame thing. Someone says he could start in Pittsburgh. Now you're just trying to be funny. You are crazy. Kenyon Green equals bust. Can't mention his name without that coming up, but it kind of is what it is at this point. Appreciate everyone for rolling through. The voice has been a little rough, but had to grind through it, getting through shows, still doing the videos. Be sure to subscribe, like, right along. We're going to get the schedule released pretty soon. God, I can't wait for that. On Monday, I'm going to drop the 10 best grudge matches for the Texans, and there is a hell of a lot. Be on the lookout for that sometime in the morning. Be sure to subscribe, like, right along. This is going to be an exaggerated comment. I can already see. You got all the faith in the world in Teagan Quitteriano, but DP and Mechie, who've actually showed something, you're out on. All the faith. I don't have all the faith in the world at all in Teagan Quitteriano. I just think that Teagan Quitteriano, he's actually scored a touchdown. I think he has more touchdowns than John Mechie, if I'm not mistaken. He's made some decentish plays and he can block. But no, I don't have all the faith in the world in him. DP and Mechie, who've actually showed something, you're out on. There's a lot more competition at those positions, I would say. And DP wasn't playable last year. He was healthy and basically a healthy scratch. So that might be a little bit of a little bit exaggeration. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Subscribe, like, right along. It is the locker room. I always remember when it comes to this Texans stuff, we're all in this together. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlock. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not 2. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions